white cloaks are right.
The problem with a fantasy show that has a strong distaste for both its male characters and male audience is that it inevitably collapses down into political and relationship drama. And the problem with political and relationship drama is that there's no way to distract from the meat of the story. Michael Bay can smash Optimus Prime and Megatron together to stop you from focusing on the fact that the main emotional thrust of Transformers is that Shia LaBeouf is a thirsty dude and Megan Fox is running around. When you're working political dramas, all you have is your dialogue and your story. If you have the writers from Succession or Better Call Saul, it can be exceptional. When you have Catherine McKenna and Rafe Judkins, in the first scene, we get our first look at Queen Morgase. It's important to remember when you're writing a story that the audience's first impressions of a character plays a big part in shaping how they will perceive the character in the rest of the work. So it's important to have them slaughter innocent children under a flag of truce. Perfect. So Morgase is despicable then. In a good story, this would have launched a civil war and would have long-reaching consequences that we would have seen throughout. This is not a good story. I find it fascinating that we've had two cold opens, one for the Forsaken Ishamael and one for supposed good guy Morgase. And in Ishamael's cold open, he's very kind to a child. And in Morgase's cold open, she's slaughtering a child. I feel like this says something about the show. Fast forward 20 years, and Morgase is arriving in Tar-Valon to have a conversation with Siwan about Elayne going missing, which is understandable. That's just good parenting. It provides our first look at Gawain, Galad, Morgase, Elaida, and Lord Gaebril. I've seen some people freaking out about Gaebril/Robin being included here, but I'll play devil's advocate. If he took over the identity of an existing paramour of Morgase, you can kind of sort of make this work. Edit, never mind, I started making this video before I saw episode 3. I just watched the beginning of that episode, and I owe all of the detractors an apology. Excellent call by the detractors. Apparently, Robin did not take over the identity of an existing lover. Apparently, he just used compulsion on every single human being on Earth, or at least every single person he comes into contact with as soon as he sees them. This is the most overpowered bullshit I've ever seen. You could literally control the entire world with this power. If Lanfear teaches this to Rand, he can just go around convincing everybody he's the Messiah, and we can just cancel books 6 through 11. We see both Rand and Perrin's parties traveling, and the timelines on this show are already boned. Perrin's party goes through the Waygate, and the effects have changed again. This is clearly better than just having an Aes Sedai pointer stick at the Waygate and channel into it to get it to open. But at some point, the show can't just keep retconning things just because they sucked in previous seasons, right? At some point, they need to stick to what they already produced. Either that, or just get it right the first time so you don't have to keep retconning stuff. We then go back to the White Tower, and it's absolutely wild to me that the White Tower is now the A plot, and the Aiel Wastes and the Two Rivers are the B and C plots. Elayne talks to her brothers and Gaebril, and they hint at the brothers sticking around for warder training, but mostly Elayne being brought home, which actually makes a ton of sense in context. Then we get Matt being healed by Rima, and what? How is Rima here? If Rima is already back in the tower, then Leandra needs to know that people are getting back from Falma. Why was she still there to get fireballed? Morgase tells Elayne that she's coming home, and Elayne protests. This is organic character drama, which is fun, but also it's not going to matter in 10 minutes when Elayne fucks off to Tanchico anyway, so it's basically just a waste of time at this point. Then we get a scene that bothers me more than it probably should. We get Lan and Rand's sword training, which is allegedly a callback to the first chapter of The Great Hunt, and it perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with this show. It's supposed to be a scene about Rand sword training, but all they show is yoga with a sword. Instead of Lan asking about the very specific things Lan knows are bothering Rand, and them talking about those issues, he asks Rand if he's feeling okay, and Rand tells him he doesn't want to talk about it. This is an excellent use of time, guys. I absolutely love our commitment to developing our main character. And then, after this 30-second preview, we get 2 minutes of Egwene, Moraine, and Aviendha doing more exposition. Moraine asks Egwene about some marks on her neck, hinting about what we're going to see with Lanfear. And the implication seems to be that she suspects Rand is abusing Egwene. How? You've been traveling with him for what I assume is a month. Do you think they're going off in the woods alone together and Rand is strangling her? Like, is this a serious question, Moraine? Why would you think this? Perrin finally gets to the Two Rivers and Perrin Elvire shuffles him upstairs to the attic where he encounters Alanna. Why is Alanna here? Did Alanna invent traveling off-screen? Perrin took the ways from Tarvalon to Faldara, and apparently so did Alanna? How? She doesn't have an Ogier. The entire point of getting loyal in Season 1 was so that the party could go through the ways. If Alanna can go through the ways without an Ogier, why is this giant laughingstock in the show? And also, I feel like this is vitally important to note. These two characters have literally never met each other. And also, how does Meryn know Alanna? She couldn't have beaten Perrin here by more than a day. This makes no sense. Elayne and Morgase then talk about what they're finding out about the White Tower, and this line of dialogue is delivered unironically.
It seems the tower had a dark friend right under their noses.
A dark friend. A single dark friend. Your investigation has turned up a dark friend. There's like 7 dead sitters. Another 5 ran away after killing them. We had 4 cubic meters of dead warder corpses. The hall of the tower is in ruins, and there was a massive street battle. And the only thing you found out is that there may have been a dark friend? Like, if I put blue puppy prints all over the shit in this tower and follow you around and sing a Nickelodeon song every time you get near one, do you think you might be smart enough to figure out the evidence of a very obvious explosion and attack on the tower? Siuan, Verin, and Leanne call Min to the hall, and she tells them about her visions of death all over the tower, and then they tell us that Min is undercover as a servant at the White Tower, and this confused the shit out of me because she's dressed like the madam for a human trafficker ring in a bad 2007 Jason Statham movie. But I guess this is what servants wear at the tower. Fuck it. The people who praise the costuming for this show are on some seriously stepped-on crack. But I digress. Apparently she's spying on Elayne. Then we cut to Matt, who is trying to get his dick wet by showing off the Horn of Valir to this novice. I talked about a bit in this video, so I won't rewalk this. He fails to get his dick wet when one of the girl's friends runs in and informs her that the Andoran princes have arrived. I'm just going to skip right over the bit about Matt being alright taking place in an orgy with a bunch of dudes. The gay horniness is just unceasing in this show. We get to see the princes doing some luchador shit to impress the novices. I miss when this story was serious and people actually had things to do and they were training as warders to do their duty and not as the Randland equivalent of Chippendale dancers. But I also miss when this story was about the Dragon Reborn, and I'm getting ready to put his face on the back of a milk carton. Elayne and Nynaeve meet with Siuan, and she sends them after the Black Aja, and I'm very confused here. Is Siuan's goal to start a war? If Elayne tells her mother that she's been assigned to hunt Liandrin and the Black Aja, Caemlyn is going to come besiege this island and kill everybody. There's a reason in the books that Siuan does not ask Elayne to hunt the Black Aja with Egwene and Nynaeve. Nynaeve and Elayne then depart and they have CW-esque feelings in hallways. This show is the CW in all but name. We then cut to Perrin getting a lowdown from Perrin Elvire on what's going on in the Two Rivers. Tam Elthor, Bran Elvire, and Abel Cawthon are all seemingly dead. A quick perusal of IMDb seems to indicate they're not showing up this season, so thanks for that, Rafe. Perrin suggests he turn himself in, and I have to ask, really? We've changed everything else for the books, but we're going to keep Perrin being a self-sacrificing retard annoying the shit out of everybody for 6 books? We couldn't stitch that up? Then we get Lanfear, and I know I'm going to sound like an annoying Twitter gay here, but I actually love the pettiness out of Lanfear. She can't kill Egwene out of jealousy because Rand will be mad, but I guess she can torture her every night while simultaneously trying to fuck her boyfriend? Outstanding villain work. But then Egwene slips into the dream and encounters an Aiel Wise One. I'm absolutely super confused. Apparently Egwene cannot tell Rand that she's having these dreams and Rand and Moraine are both too stupid to get it. Oddly broken. I feel like it shouldn't need to be said here, but a mysterious dream message saying to come to the Aiel Waste makes a lot more sense and has a lot more impact when the person is on the other side of the world, not when they're already 90% of their journey to the Aiel Waste. Why would you include this shit here except that it's a book scene that you forgot to do last season? Rand then comforts Egwene, and I just have to say, sleeping with a woman has never looked gayer. Matt is in his room and he's trying to cover his ears because... and I needed to check my notes here, Gawain and Galad are busy railing novices in the room to either side of his. What the fuck is wrong with this show? Min comes in and tells Matt that Siwan wants to see him. Matt is understandably a little pissy with Min because she sold him out to Ishamael last season. Wildly, the show paints Matt as being unreasonable in this scenario, as though he should simply let bygones be bygones, and that the reasonable thing to do wouldn't be to turn her over to the White Cloaks for questioning. Elayne meets with Gaebril, and we find out that Morgase is having trouble in Caemlyn, and has even dismissed Gareth Bryn. Does the mind control not work on Gareth Bryn? Can I actually get more info on the potential flaw in an otherwise world-rending magical weapon that is this compulsion? Siwan and Matt then talk, and please just let me die. She dresses him down for running around with the Horn of Valir, which makes sense to an extent, but why did the writers of the show make Matt run around like an idiot with the Horn of Valir in the first place if he was just going to be dressed down for it? Why not make him not retarded? Stop wasting my time. I've also seen people say that there needed to be an explanation for how the Horn of Valir just disappeared like it did somewhat in the books. And my question is, well, if we need an explanation for how that magical artifact disappeared, where the fuck is the Ashendari bedpost from last season? Morgase and Elayne then talk again, and I continue to be wildly impressed in the absolute worst way by the dialogue in the show. These people talk like second graders who don't understand how something that was bad for somebody else but ended up being good for themselves is actually behavior that they shouldn't emulate.
The last daughter heir, who set off on her own, disappeared without trace and was never heard from again. There never was a Queen Tigraine.
And yet, Tigraine leaving is why you were able to ascend the throne.
How is this a serious production? Rand and Moiraine then talk, and Rand asks Moiraine why she's ignoring him, and I'm very confused. Why is the writing team lifting things from the Great Hunt when we're on the Shadow Rising? At this point in the series, Moiraine is on his ass constantly trying to persuade him to do whatever it is she wants on a given day. Ignoring him makes no sense here. Also, I am down on one knee begging. Can we please establish if men and women can see each other's weaves in this series? Is channeling sight still a thing, or was that only in the finale of last season? Other than that, Rand's actor continues to be the surprise star of this dumpster fire. Morgase fucks off and leaves Elayne at the tower. She threatens Siwan that if anything should happen to Elayne, she'll come back with an army to destroy Tar Valon. This would probably be an excellent time for Siwan to pull Elayne out from back behind enemy lines, but fuck it. Then we get the last scene of the episode with Rand and crew. They finally pass over into Aiel territory, and Aviendha freaks out that Aiel are waiting for them. And it seems like there was supposed to be a fight here between the good guys and the Shido Aiel, but it got cut for some reason, and instead it's just Ruark, who is basically Aviendha's governor, showing up to welcome them. So her flipping shit doesn't make any goddamn sense at all. And that's the end of the episode. Are you telling me that we went an entire goddamn episode with the only fight being the two idiot brothers doing flipping kicks, and all the dialogue being characters who sniff glue at a professional level? It is abundantly clear that this show does not have the writers to do this kind of thing. At least keep some fights in here as a distraction. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it immensely. And as always, walk in the light.